Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're coming from, tuning in from in the world. Hello, everybody. I hope you're all doing well. I have to say, I'm doing well. I had a really nice weekend. The trading's going good today, and the recession is canceled. Per Miss Janet Yellen. She tells us the recession is canceled. So, yeah. So no more worries. No more worries about a recession. How are you guys feeling about this? Do we believe Miss Yellen? Do we believe that the recession is actually canceled? White House redefining what a recession is. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. The Bureau, let's see what this says. This says the Bureau of Economic Analysis on Thursday is set to release the second quarter gross domestic product numbers. And if they're negative, that will mark 2 consecutive quarters in which the economy has contracted, something that is generally understood to mean a recession. Janet Yellen on Sunday went so far as to say she would be, quote, amazed if the National Bureau of Economic Research, NBER, were to declare that. She also stated flatly that we are not in a recession. Even if, this is a quote, she says, even if that GDP number is negative, we are not in a recession now. Yellen said on NBC's Meet the Press, and I would, warn that we should not be characterizing that as a recession. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? There's 38 of you here. Nobody said hello. Please say hello. How are we doing today? I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you all had a really nice weekend. Take a look at the indices today. SPY. Continuing its very, very casual slide from the highs that were put in on the open on Friday. Britsu, what's happening, sir? Safwan. Hello, Safwan. How are you? Fernando Ortegon. Fernando, it's good to see you. Tyler, it's good to see you as well. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it very much. Hope you're all doing well. The SPY on Friday came almost into our level of interest. Past couple of weeks, you guys know, we've been talking about this 407, 408 area on the SPY. Coincides with the VWAP from those March highs. We were not able to quite get there. We did come in, and I believe we just about filled this gap right here. Yeah, pretty close. That gap at 401.44. Did not manage to completely fill it, but just about filled it. On the Qs, we did fill. And we came up right into the areas that we've been eyeballing here. We actually kind of gained them almost a little bit. That 304 area coincides pretty nicely with the anchored VWAP from those March highs. And again, found some resistance there and is making a new low against Friday's low as of just recently here. Raphael, what's happening, brother? Hope you're well. Fernando, you got some VIX calls. We got a lot of important information coming up here this week. Not only do we have some of the biggest companies' earnings dates, we've got Apple. I believe Apple is on Thursday. Apple's on the 28th, so Wednesday, rather. No, Thursday. Today's the 25th. Yeah, Thursday. We've got Microsoft tomorrow. Should be an interesting one. We've got GDP numbers. We've got FOMC. This could be a really, really volatile week, which might explain why Mr. Fernando has VIX calls. that would explain some things. So now that the indices are kind of finding some resistance here, now we kind of look for logical places where they might potentially could find some support, right? So I've got my eyeballs over here. We get anchored VWAP from the lows. That takes us a little bit below that. But this seems like a pretty logical area to me, somewhere around that 295 level. Y'all let me know if you're seeing the same thing. 295 level on the Qs. On the SPY here, it's more so around like 390 or so. We might be looking for those little areas to hold. Tyler, what you got puts in? SPY puts for Tyler. Should be working right now. Pending you didn't buy them, you know, in the past, what, 30 minutes or so. I mean, it really, like, this week, I have to assume this week is going to be hinging on all those data points. Excuse me for a second. Excuse me. I got a little scratch in my nose this morning, and I cannot stop sneezing. Yeah, this level seems pretty important to me. We kind of look at that anchored VWAP there on the SPY coming from the July 14 lows. Let's throw up some other indicators here and just see if there's anything. That 50-day moving average kind of coinciding with the trend line. Just kind of the area that we broke out of. I mean, it's pretty obvious what I'm looking at here, but, you know, clear resistance for the past couple of weeks or so. Nice support area back in May. So we're just kind of oscillating around this 390 level. Would not be surprised to see it come back and test that. Can you do the anchored VWAP on TOS? Devin, are you talking about like Thinkorswim? Pretty sure they got anchored VWAP on Thinkorswim. I'm not sure how you add it. I don't know if it's quite as easy to add. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure, Devin. I'm sorry that I don't know the answer to that. I'm a bit of a TrendSpider expert. I'm not a bit of a TOS expert. I do use TOS, but I don't do any charting on it. I just draw horizontal lines and place orders. Yeah, you're very welcome, Devin. I hope you had a nice weekend. Anyone long Baba? Let's look at China names. Haven't looked at those in a couple of sessions here. China names maybe trying to be making a higher low here. Kind of went and let's see, what do we have? Yeah, so let's turn this off. You had this gap here, and I'm just looking at FXI. We'll get into some individual names here shortly. But you had this gap, which they tried to fill back in June 13th. It was not able to fill. Well, they came and cleared that gap out here. We do have another one at 28.82. Wonder if we could find ourselves there at some point. Let's look at Baba real quick here. Baba was definitely leading the pack for a minute there. Baba looking very similar to FXI, which I suppose is not much of a surprise. Baba, however, has not filled that gap below. Doesn't mean it has to. There are actually two there, though. Actually, let me do this. I'll use the gap detector. Oh, gap factor's too big. Let's reduce that a little bit. There we go. So there's our two gaps below. Again, not saying that they have to fill. We had that gap and go back in March. We came back and we filled it. Technically having another gap and go right here. May 26th. You had one here. We came back and filled it pretty quickly. You do have a gap above. If we take this to the weekly. Anchored VWAP from these, I don't know if they're all-time lows, but they are definitely past couple of years lows. Back in March. You've got your anchored VWAP from the March 14 lows. Price trading just below. Price closed below last week. So that's a little concerning if you're bullish. To me, that's a little concerning. You do not want to see price below where your average buyer owns these things from. Especially considering it's that gap and go. Turn off gap detector real quick so you guys can kind of see it a little bit cleaner. Here's the daily. You've got your anchored VWAP from that gap up. And now our average buyer is losing on this trade to the tune of about $3. Not super substantial, but it's definitely something to be mindful of. You do have two gaps below. Are we expecting upwards guidance from Apple? Fernando, that's a good question. I'd be curious to know what chat says. I personally do not know myself. I don't know what the expectations are. Let's do a couple of things. We can kind of dig into some of the peripheral data here and see if we can find anything of interest. Let's look at unusual options. Let's look at insider trading as well. Actually, let's look at seasonality too. We're going to look at a handful of things. So, Apple seasonality over the past 42 years. Holy moly. It's crazy. Apple seasonally looks like July is of the stronger months. We're heading into a little bit more strength followed by some weakness. So September historically is the weakest month of the year for Apple. 32% win rate on the month of September over the past 42 years on Apple. So that's kind of interesting to note. Next month is historically pretty strong, 63% win rate, actually second strongest month of the year historically. So seasonality kind of suggests that things should be a little bit stronger this quarter. Doesn't mean that they will be, but it does suggest it. See if there's anything interesting on the insider trading side. I don't know who this Catherine Adams, what is she? Senior Vice President. Sold 25,000 shares for a total of $4 million on May 3rd. Doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it's something to know about. On the unusual options side, let's see what's going on with unusual options here. Let's do this. Let's check just like the next month or so. See how folks are positioned. And I'm just kind of adjusting the parameters here, adjusting premiums. Just kind of want to see, excuse me, where are the orders at? Let's adjust the strike. We'll just keep it at 150. 160 puts, $220,000 in premium, expiring July 29th. 4.26% of the open interest. Not a huge trade. $220,000, $222,000. Not huge. 155 calls expiring July 29th. Also not a huge trade. 186,000 in premium. 152 puts. 7% of the open interest, $172,000 in premium. Again, not huge. Let's look out a little bit farther. In the near term, Seems like the larger bets are positioned more bearish. You've got two that are just about, well, they're all, I guess, in the money. Where's Apple trading at right now? 152.87. So you've got some small orders in the 150 range, some larger orders in the money range, right, or at the money range, and then the biggest order on the 160 puts. But it's almost equivalent to these 155 calls, so who knows? This could be the same trader. Nevin, who comes up with the titles? I did today. It's not always me, but it is sometimes me. Yeah, so with that said, we've gone through some of the peripheral data. I'm sorry, Fernando. And, you know, we're not really gleaning a ton of information here. Let's look at these. What's this? It's kind of a weird kind of order. You've got the 60 call, October expiry, almost 100% of the open interest, 91% of the open interest. It's not a huge order, $94,000 on that order, but it is a big amount of the open interest. It's kind of an interesting, kind of a strange little trade there. 60 calls for October expiry. Got some sweeps on the 230 puts. Repeat sweeps, looks like. Could be the same trader. Looks like they came in all around the same time. 230 puts, December 16 for about $120,000 worth of premium there. Yeah, nothing that's really like screaming out. Somebody is very, very convinced it's going to do one thing or another. Some July, that came in a couple days ago, came in on Friday, the 122 call for today, or rather this week expiry, 180% of the open interest, but only a $30,000 bet, so not anything crazy. Here's a big order, $1.5 million on this order for the 145 call, January 2024. So these are leaps for the 145s, 5% of the open interest. It's kind of an interesting one. Same order right here, 1.9 mil, 6% for those 145 January 2024s. Yeah, hard to say. Really hard to say. We could look at news. Maybe there's something we could glean from news. Just kind of looking through here. Actually, let's do this too. I'm going to add analyst estimate, see if anything's come in. We had a couple of buy ratings came in. Looks like on the 20th of July. One from Morgan Stanley. One from Wells Fargo. A couple other ones came in on the 13th of July. Citigroup confirmed it was a buy. Barclays confirmed it was a hold. Tyler, you want to look at Ethereum? Let's look at it. ETH came up to almost our spot too, honestly. It got darn close. We were looking at the anchored VWAP from the April highs. Crazy to think that ETH was trading at $3,500 in April, and it's trading at $1,500 now. That is a huge haircut. What we were looking for was these lows right here. You know, somewhere in this world, 1750, 1700, somewhere thereabouts. And yesterday we hit highs of 1665.40. So we almost got that 1700 PT or TP, however you prefer to say it. Didn't quite get it. Does look like it could cool, right? I mean, same idea as with SPY. You know, you have this area that took a while to break out from. Would not be shocked to see ETH head back to 1249 at some point. Not saying it's going to happen right now. Not saying it's going to happen in the next 2 weeks, but definitely could find its way back there at some point, especially if it's not able to get up and over kind of some of this stuff. Let's check out Tesla. If you guys were around last week, we were talking about Tesla earnings with the gang. We have all the gang members over here with their earnings expectations. These were opening prices. Our buddy Shiv Kumar nailed it, 765. It opened that particular day, I think. Yeah, he was 40 cents away. Or no, he was 32 cents away. The open was 765.32. I had a target of about 856 on it. And we almost got there on Friday, right before things sold off. We almost got there. We hit a high of 842. I mean, I kind of feel the same way about this as I feel about everything else. You know, you have a big base. We broke out of that big base here. It would make sense to come back and retest it. Make sure that all this area here that was acting as resistance for the past, 2 months or so, we want to see this come in and act as support. So I'm kind of thinking the same as for SPY, Qs, the whole bop shebang. If we can come back and we can hold here, maybe make a new high, then that might be a nice little sign. But we'll have to wait and see. Again, we have lots of interesting data points coming up. GDP numbers, FOMC. You've got Apple earnings, Microsoft earnings. You got a bunch of earnings this week. And we can actually do some scanning and make sure we are all aware of what all is coming here this week. SPY making low of day. Nevin says, yes, it sure is, isn't it? So the question is here, We've been noticing that oil, energy in general, has been rallying today. Let me add watch list real quick. So how's energy looking? CVX. This is the 5-minute chart on CVX. Super strong today. Let me go to a different time frame. Making a new high relative to last week's high. Or, yeah, last week's high for sure. Let's look at OXY, another name that's been working well today. Yep, 64.21, almost at high of day. So that's interesting to see energy making high of day while the SPY is making low of day. How the Qs look. Qs damn near low a day. Housing data too. Jeez, this week is going to be a roller coaster, isn't it? I saw on Friday our friend Theta Warrior, he posted something about the expectation for the FOMC rate raise, saying that there is an 82% chance of a 100 bips raise. Gas is up. Natural gas or gasoline, Nevin? 2 turbines down. Nordstrom 1 lost a turbine. What's this all about? Nord Stream, not Nordstrom. Nord Stream. Delayed due to Canada's sanctions. I am not super versed on the Nord Stream. Cannot be returned to Germany from Montreal because of Canada's sanctions against Russia. Gazprom had to lower natural gas supplies over the Nord Stream Q pipeline against the schedule due to untimely return of gas pumping units from repair by Siemens, the Russian gas holdings said on Tuesday. When did this come out? This is 14th of June. So that's old news. Nord Stream 1. Here we go. Cut Nord Stream 1 gas supplies to 33 MCM from July 27th. Russian energy giant Gazprom said on Monday it is halting one more turbine at the Nord Stream 1 gas pipeline for maintenance, which would result in a reduction of gas flows. You guys really think it's for maintenance? Gas futures in the EU is ripping. Well, of course, right? That makes sense. Yeah, okay, so I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Obviously, we know that Russia provides tons of natural gas. Nevin, I'm with you, my man. I do not believe that this is for maintenance purposes. This is just to squeeze Europe, right? So let's see here. NQ. Oh, no, that's not it. NG. There we go. Via. So, what are some... I mean, this would be an interesting spot for it to kind of pause, honestly. So, what are some nat gas names you guys like? Let's look and see. Natural gas distribution. So AM. Antero. CLNE. Looks kind of interesting. CLNE is one that I know that I've traded in the past. So the question is will any of these American names benefit from this move in natural gas? Will America ship natural gas? Well, Fernando, that's kind of what we're suggesting. We're saying that they probably do maintain them, but if they control the natural gas flowing to Europe, it makes sense. If it's Russia, it makes sense that they're blocking that supply now, right? Natural Grid Transco. Look at this sell-off. My God. XOM is up 3% on the day. Would gas, like gasoline, would gasoline providers benefit from higher natural gas prices? Does XOM also sell natural gas? Genuine question. I don't know the answer to it. Targa. A lot of these guys have earnings here in a couple of days. This natural grid's kind of interesting. XOM coming into an area of interest. Back into those highs. Excuse me. XOM earnings on the 29th. Excuse me again. Crude and nat gas. Well, there you go. Thanks, Nevin. Nevin taking care of us over here. Kind of look and see if there's anything come in today that's of interest. on the unusual options side for XOM. 85 calls, 46% of the open interest. It's not a huge of a trade. Let's do this. Ooh, that's kind of interesting. This came in on July 19th, so last week before last. 100 calls for September 16th expiry. 135% of the open interest, $1.1 million on that premium. It's a big trade. And on July 19th, let's see here. Yeah, that trade is working well now. So this is an interesting development. We'll have to see kind of how this plays out. Just looking at the Nord Stream 2 turbine. Just reading through this article real quick. Russian President Vladimir Putin said last week that another Nord Stream turbine is due to go for maintenance on or around July 26th, which could reduce flows via the gas link to around 20% of the nameplate capacity. I wonder what that means, nameplate capacity. Nameplate capacity, also known as the rated capacity, nominal capacity, installed capacity, or maximum effect, is the intended full load sustained output of a facility. Okay, so 20% can deliver 20% of the full load unless the already repaired equipment comes back online to replace it. Despite the turbine spat, Russia is not interested in a complete cutoff of its gas deliveries to Europe. However, if Europe continues its course of absolutely recklessly imposing sanctions and restrictions that are hitting it, the situation may change. Yeah, so this is just warfare, essentially, right? Energy warfare. XOM calls up 40%. Nevin, nice trade, sir. Madhukar, what's up, buddy? Glad you're here. CTRA, Fernando. What's up? Coterra. Ooh, that's interesting, too. GG. I'm going to put CTRA on my watch list. I'm kind of curious about that one. Is CTRA a specifically natural gas company? They've got earnings here on the 2nd. Let's add seasonality back. Got some folks lowering price targets on CTRA here. How's IWM looking under the 50 SMA? Let's see here. What did we talk about this weekend in the old weekend update? So same kind of deal as SPY and as the Qs, really. You have your anchored VWAP from the March high. You had a gap fill. You had a gap fill that coincided with the anchored VWAP. So not a huge surprise to see some resistance there. Pretty much could have almost certainly expected it. You could see every time we've come into this anchored VWAP, we've gotten rejected there. And that pattern is continuing as of last week. So kind of much like the SPY, much like the Qs, you have this area that we broke out from, that base that we've been talking about quite a bit. It's about a, what is this? About a month and a half worth of basing action, potentially basing action. Would not be surprised to see price come back into this and test somewhere in here. Maybe it tests these previous highs. Maybe it comes down and tests these lows. We could do anchored VWAP off of the low of this area here. That brings us to about 172. Yeah, so I would be on the sidelines a bit for this until maybe we started seeing a little bit of bottoming action. If we can make a move back into this 175.5 area, I might be looking for a trade somewhere thereabouts. Again, though, this week is going to make things difficult. So much data this week and big data. So it's really hard to say right now, but that's kind of where my head would be at. Be looking for a move kind of back somewhere into this 172.5 to about 175 area to consider a long opportunity there. Neo. Let's look at Neo. Remove these guys. So what have we done on Neo here? We do still have that gap above. Right in here. Do we make a new high? We made a new high. You could say though that they were just coming in and grabbing liquidity before turning it lower. We go anchored VWAP off of these lows here. Coming right into it today. So this is kind of it's not necessarily a must hold, but you'd love to see it hold if you're bullish. You'd love to see this hold. It held in towards the end of May, held towards the middle of June. We're coming back into that now. We did technically make a new high. Technically. So I might be looking for this to hold. I might be looking for it a little bit lower. Could potentially see price come back in here somewhere. You, at the very, very least, I think you'd want to see these lows hold. The $16 lows. If we go on the weekly, I'm just going to go to a bigger time frame. Where are we at from the gap down? Yeah, so you're just kind of pinching in between your anchored VWAP from the gap down and your anchored VWAP from the low. Nice little pinch here. Getting closer to a buy signal on that TW pivot indicator. Don't know if you guys have been watching this. It's kind of a cool new indicator that we've added, the old Theta Warrior pivot. So yeah, Mason, I mean, tough to say. Tough to say on Neo, but this seems like a logical place you'd want to see hold. We could check and see if there's any major moving averages anywhere. So here's your 50-day. That 50-day moving average coming into play on so many names. So many names. We're trading just below it. Looks like it's trying to act as some resistance here. Traded below it for a day back in June 13th, and we were able to get just above it. For Neo, really kind of got to watch FXI a little bit, in my opinion. Do have a little gap to fill just below. Whether or not it needs to, it may not need to, but it's there. What's up? It's Edgy. Tesla. Yeah, so Tesla, kind of similar really to the indices. You have this big base that it formed over the past 2.5 months or so. You have this area of resistance here, somewhere in and around in here. And we came into it and we're failing at it. So I would anticipate, especially if the indices remain weak, I would anticipate price coming back in, maybe filling this breakaway gap that it gave us back on, what is this, Thursday? Maybe price comes back in, fills that gap. If it's going to hold, you start seeing some rounding. Kind of similar, you know, who knows how long this could take. I'm not saying it's going to happen immediately, but even with something like FXI, you had FXI, you made that big, you had that big move right here, and it did trade up a lot longer, and it took a lot longer to pull back. But ultimately, what it did was it came back and it filled that breakaway gap. So maybe we get something like that on Tesla. Doesn't look like it's going to take nearly as long. But that's what I'd be looking for. I'd be looking for these previous highs in here to hold if price comes back to them. I'd be looking for price to hold around in here and then try and make another move. And then you'll see kind of what's next. Does it get... again, this may not happen, but if it comes back in, if it holds, then what happens? Is it able to get above these previous highs? Does it get stopped at them and then head lower? We don't really know what's going to happen next, but that's kind of something that I would be looking for. Fernando just got a bear put spread on Apple. Tell us about this trade, man. Joe Nobody, your BAC nailed. How are financials looking today? They're looking stronger than the indices. Trying to gain that 50 SMA today on BAC. A little, actually, it's kind of a little weak in comparison to something like the SPY, or maybe it's kind of about trading similar to the SPY. Has that gap just above, just like SPY, and was not able to fill, but it did make a new high today against last week's high, so that's good to see. We could look at JPM. JPM, very similar looking chart. We could look at Citigroup, again, very similar looking chart. We could look at Wells Fargo. Again, very similar looking chart. Wells Fargo kind of looks a bit the strongest of the bunch. Yeah, quite the strongest of the bunch. Wells Fargo. XBio. Fernando, you must not have gotten the message from Miss Yellen, who said that if GDP is negative, does not mean we're in a recession. She told us this weekend. XBio, what is this? 92 cents. I mean, I know that this is a name that chat rooms like to talk about, but it looks like garbage. Sure, it could see a pump. It definitely could, but if you get in this, just be careful. I don't know anything about this name or what they do. Yeah, Joe, I don't know. This is not my kind of chart. This is not my kind of ticker. I don't really trade stuff like this, generally speaking. There was one kind of name like this that I was watching. Let me see. I mean, I don't know if they're like this, but like a smaller penny bio name. And let me see if I can find it. SNGX. I'd read somewhere that maybe these guys, their vaccine might have some relation to or being able to treat monkeypox. So this ticker has been kind of moving. Had a nice pullback today and has regained that entire pullback. So this thing traded up on the 20th, traded up to almost $1, 91 cents. Pulled back to 70.69 this morning. Oxy for Madukar. Oxy looks great today, man. Making new highs. Breaking out of this base. So kind of similar to SPY even, like, except just kind of a little behind, right? You have your base. And the Qs too, you know? You had your base in here. Let me remove all this stuff. You had your base. We made a move up and out of the base. So Oxy kind of looks like it's starting to do something pretty similar, right? Making new highs against the whole base. So then we're looking for another area of potential resistance above. This looks pretty logical. You have some highs. We made new highs. We came back and we tested. We ultimately failed, but we came back and we tested and held for a few days. Makes sense for 69 to come. Not saying it's going to happen today. Not saying it's not going to go lower first. But I mean, Warren's been buying, right? Let's do something here. Would he be considered an insider at this point? Yeah. So here you go. Berkshire Hathaway. On the 18th, bought 14.5 million. On the 16th, 14.5 million. On the 15th, 66.6 million. On the 14th, he bought 31 million. On the 13th, bought 3.7 million. On the 12th, bought 140.4 million. Old boys have spent $1 billion on Oxy in the past month. Not even. An easy billion. In less than a month. They own 20% of the company. They are bullish. Now, if you're going to look at Oxy, kind of got to look at energy, right? You got to look at XLE and see what XLE is doing. Because this could bring down You know, it can bring down individual names if XLE is weak. So XLE hasn't quite made it where Oxy's made it, right? You have your, I mean, I guess maybe it has. I guess your same relative area on XLE. Let me see what the dates are on it. June 3rd. June 3rd. Yeah, so it's kind of lagging a little bit. Actually, let me do this. Let me just... Oh, here we go. I'm going to use the price compare indicator here. Oh, I can't look at XLE. Dang. Well, no, hold on. Yes, I can. Let me do this. There we go. Oh, I guess I can't. Oh, I see the problem. Let me do something real quick, guys. I just want to look at them next to each other. That's all. Here we go. So here's your XLE chart. Oxy's on top, XLE is on the bottom. Clearly showing some strength, some relative strength. Yeah, so XLE kind of targeting these highs up here. 76.90. We've already gained the same highs on Oxy here. You've got this little gap up here on XLE. That could come into play at some point. What's up, Alan? Hughes? CHPT? ChargePoint? Yikes. This doesn't look very good, does it? Made a new all-time low back in May. Looks like we've talked about this before. Could potentially have made a higher low on July 11th. Something to keep an eye on. Since we made a new low, new all-time low, I'm going to always anchor a VWAP from there. So we're currently above that VWAP from those all-time lows. It's at 1290. That 1290 level could be important. Excuse me. Currently, though, in a pretty clear little downtrend, at least on the daily here. You've got a high here, you've got a lower high here, and a lower high here. You've got a low, a lower low, a lower low. Go to a smaller time frame. I just want to look and see here. Did we test? Yeah, I don't know. Not super bullish on this one, have to admit. Don't love it. If it can start making a high, if it can make a new high against this one here, then you might be onto something. You know, if we can hold, make some new highs, and then come back and hold, then we might be looking at something here. Robert, what's up, man? Hope you're good. Glad to see you here, man. Good to see a bunch of familiar faces. I'm glad you guys are continue to come hang. I appreciate that. Alan, just so you know, like, I could be totally wrong here. Just keep that in mind. My opinion is not the end all be all, but you know, the look of the chart is not great. All you have is lower highs and lower lows. Not lovely if you're a long biased participant in this particular name. You got a lot of selling here. I don't know who this let's see, Henrik, Chief Accounting Officer. He's been selling pretty heavily last month. Senior Vice President has sold. Director sold 2 million shares. Michael Linz. It's a big payday. Could be his salary. Who knows? We don't really know that information about it. So always something to keep in mind. Yeah, insiders sell for all kinds of different reasons. You'll hear this a lot. Insiders sell for every reason under the sun. Maybe it's their salary. Maybe it's, you know, they're buying a vacation house. Maybe they're, who knows? They say insiders sell for all kinds of reasons. Insiders only buy for one reason. So the insiders buying is a lot more important and a lot more worth paying attention to than insiders selling. So do keep that in mind. Looks like these guys sell relatively often. December, March, June. So these could just be quarterly, you know, this is how they get paid. And so they sell shares, they take their cash, and they go. They're not all paying for weddings, though, Robert. That is true. Let's see. Fiserv. Whoa. Looks like they've bought a couple of times, huh? Well, Value Act Holdings director. We don't know what Value Act Holdings are. We can look. They are a San Francisco-based investment company that manages more than $16 billion on behalf of some of the world's largest institutional investors. That's what Value Act Holdings is. We could learn a little bit more about them. Top buys, BLD, KKR, NSIT. Top sells, Seagate, STX, TRN, and BHC. They own 18.18% of their portfolio is in FISV. They have a tendency to allocate the most over, let's see here, information technology and finance. This is not the best looking chart in the world, I have to admit. Let me go to a bigger time frame here. Hoo-wee. My God, what a move from 2012. This thing was $14 in 2012. Let's add log scale. If y'all hear my dogs barking in the background, I apologize. They're barking at something. So I'm just trying to see if I can see anything that looks interesting to me. So you had all these lows. And they managed to hold those lows in November of 2021. They managed to hold them in February of 2022. Managed to hold them in May 2022. And this is kind of a change of trend, right? Kind of a fundamental change. Trading below. Actually, let's do this. Trading below these lows. And now they're really just having trouble making new highs, aren't they? I mean, same as what we just kind of discussed. I can't remember the symbol. But you got your high here. Lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. So you really want to see some previous highs get taken out. We could go to a smaller time frame and kind of see. So we're trading above the 50. Where's the 200? Rejected at the 200-day moving average for the fourth time. So here's your 200-day moving average in orange. Looks like we were rejected in January. We were rejected in February. We were rejected in April. And it looks like we're getting rejected again. They've got earnings tomorrow. So that could be interesting. We'll have to wait and see. But Value Act was buying on June 10th, 13th, and 14th. So let's look where those shares were purchased. June 10th, 13th, and 14th. So here's 10 right here. Here's 13 and 14. Actually, let me do this. So these three candles, right, y'all? I guess technically right here. What'd they buy? They bought $80 million worth of shares almost. A little bit more than that. About 80 million worth of shares between $95 and $89. So, depending on how they let's see, 47 million on the 10th, and then another about 47 million, 40-ish million, 44 million, 45 million on the 13th and the 14th when this thing was trading 92 to 89. So you can assume their cost average was about $92. What is 80 million divided by 92? Let's see. So they had 869,000, somewhere thereabouts, 869,000 shares. Let's say they sold them yesterday, $100. They made about $8 a share. It's a net profit of about 7 million. Now, did they sell them yesterday? I don't know. Or rather Friday. I don't know, but they were up essentially about 10% in a relatively short period of time, in just about a month. You got 80 million on the line. Do you take a 10% gainer? It's 18.18% of your portfolio. I don't know. I might. What's up, Chewy? So Juan, to answer your question, I really don't know. There's no way to really know these things. We just don't know. We can only make educated guesses. Looks like, I'm just looking here, it looks like they bought almost 60 million in May 9th, 6th, and 2nd. So so they were buying at 97, somewhere between 97 and 95 as well. Hard to know, but they definitely made money on the trade. If they sold, they definitely made money on this trade for sure. What if they sold in the past couple of days? You don't see any like above average selling. We can look and see average volume on this symbol is, let's look. Yeah, so average daily volume on this name is 3 million. So if this company has, you know, to the tune of like 140 million shares, and on average, the shares trade or the company trades 3 million shares a day, you would think that if somebody was unloading their 140 million shares, you'd probably see that in quite above average volume. So maybe they didn't sell. Because it'd be hard for them to disperse this, right? It'd be hard for them to disperse quietly 140 million shares without causing some noticeable bump, unless they're just like running the float. But I have to assume that they're not. We can look and see. Let's use, let me see, retail traders activity percentage. So retail. Oh, wow. So retail really is not trading this name very much at all. 3%. Interesting. Do you guys know about this retail traders percentage? It's kind of a cool tool. So you can see how much retail is participating. And FISV has a retail trading percentage value of 0.03. So about 3% of the trading is retail. So that does suggest then that they could be slowly scaling out. But in order to scale out 140 million shares, it would take them weeks to do that. Ben Krupa, what up? Are you related to Gene Krupa by chance? Do you know who Gene Krupa is? I'm going to look at SOFI for Chewy here. You can see the difference here on SOFI. You got 8% of retail trading. You don't know who Gene Krupa is, but you get to ask quite a bit. You never had the gumption to research Gene Krupa? Yeah, there you go. Oh, okay. So you know who Gene Krupa is. Great. Yeah, Monster Drummer. So 50 SMA coming into play here today on SOFI. Not a surprise. This thing has had trouble with its 50-day SMA for quite some time now. We saw it test it right here. We saw it test it here. We saw it test it here and here. And now we've gotten up and over it. We're making a new relative high, and we're making potentially a higher low. We made a new relative high on June 21st. So we're looking to now kind of gain these guys. Actually, I guess this is the first one. Around 768. And then you've got 802. You've got earnings here on August 2nd. You might want to just kind of see. I like that they held this low. Let me go do this. You've got your anchored VWAP. Seems like a logical place. Yeah, so, I mean, I think that this is a pretty decent spot. Somewhere in here. Somewhere thereabouts. I mean, somewhere between $6 and where it's trading right now. Seems like a decent spot, especially, you know, if you're kind of short term, keep your eye on that $6 level. You can maybe even keep your eye kind of in here. Around $6. We kind of love to catch it around $6. That way you have a nice tight stop, maybe just below these lows. I could see them, if things get nasty, they could come down and maybe take out these lows. That would tell you something. That would suggest something, right? But Kind of want to see him hold if you're bullish, but kind of want to try and get a buy-in as close to that as you can. But keep in mind also you've got earnings on the second. But you do have some insider. Let's see what the insider buys are. Anthony Noto, the director. Noto has been buying through June. So this is what we were talking about. They only buy for one reason, because they think the stock price is going to go up. Well, Anthony Noto is the director. If anybody knows, you would think Anthony Noto would know that the stock is going to go up. So he was buying, let's see how much he's bought. That's $1 million. Probably another $1 million. He's probably bought like 2.5 million shares, maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe 3 mil in shares. Over the past, since the 13th of May. So this terrible earnings date. Something happened. He's got bad earnings. He started buying right here. And we don't have anything else from him after June 16th. So dude was buying. He bought about 3 million shares. So it's kind of tricky because we're not trading above those highs. So we don't know exactly the breakdown of how much he bought. Well, I mean, we know the breakdown of how much he bought. We don't know his DCA. Like, clearly he's DCAing. He could be in the money on this trade. He could be stuck. He could be at the money. He could be a little bit underwater on it. Fernando, good question. Would love to hear from the group on that. It sounds like we're not going to get a clear answer about whether or not we're officially in a recession, though. So even if GDP is negative, the talking heads are kind of suggesting that even if GDP is negative, we're not going to get an answer. XLE kind of cool. Well, hold on. It is kind of cooling off. No, it's not. Never mind. Sorry. For some reason, I was thinking it had hit 74 today. CVX. Looking pretty good. Qs. Made a new intraday low. Not too long ago here. Yeah, Amit. He's definitely been DCAing. The question is, you know, what's his intention? How long is he planning on holding for? You know, we never really know that stuff. But we do know that if insiders buy, they tend to buy for one reason, because they think the stock is going to go up. Madukar, you say you're looking at AMD and will buy puts. I mean, AMD kind of bucking the QQQ trend here, huh? AMD looking pretty strong relative to its index. Now, it is coming into these lows here. It is a very small time frame. Let's go to a daily. Remove all this stuff. We've got earnings on AMD on the 2nd. So that's next Tuesday. AMD's got this gap up here around $94.50. Something to be mindful of. I mean, AMD looks strong relative to the Qs, but as a whole, it doesn't look great. I mean, all it's doing is making lower lows and lower highs. If we go to a weekly, we did. They just barely made a new low off of this low. Just barely. So they went and they took out all of the stops that were just below these lows in this candle right here and immediately turned it back. I think AMD's got a ways to go up before it becomes like officially, like legitimately bullish again. It has some more stuff to prove. You need to be making new highs. You really want to see a new high against this high, right? It's 110. And then you also want to see it put in a higher low at some point. To me, this new low here, even though they immediately turned it back, to me this is a little suspect. You have this really logical spot right here. This is why it's suspect to me. You have this really logical spot where price, you would anticipate price would find its way back to 58, 60 bucks. I'm secretly eyeing this. Not so secret because I just told all you guys, but there's not a ton of you here. But maybe it goes and fills this gap first. I'll have to see what earnings does. Crocs. Crocs at a decent failure spot. Let's just see. Oops. So you've got these February highs coming into play. You could even look at this high here. So managed to gain it and held above it for a couple of sessions. Now it's kind of failing it. You know, is it this all over again? Right here. What we saw here is that this could be. Still technically in a downtrend. You did gain these highs right here. But kind of failing them already. So we might want to look here around 58 bucks. You said insiders are buying. Not seeing anything in a while. It's like we had some buys in May. They might have bought something recently that we're just not picking up yet. But RKT. RKD kind of interesting. Kind of extended. Did make some new highs against these guys. Let's see what this looks like. Up and over that anchored VWAP. Wow, look at the insiders here on RKT. There's a lot of insider buying on RKT. That's kind of interesting. Director, this Rizek, Matthew Rizek is the director. Jay Farner is a director. These guys have been buying quite a bit. Jay Farner, big baller over here. A couple 100,000. Most of his buys are about 200 G's. And Matthew is buying about a tenth of that each time. Certainly a lot of insider buying. What does this company do, Rocket? Are they mortgage? Mortgage company? Mortgage lending? Yeah, so I mean, Rocket kind of looks extended to me a little bit. I like that it's making new highs. But I do think that it could come back and back test some. You've got a gap down here at $8. That seems like a relatively optimal place to be considering a long. Have to see what earnings do. Earnings is on August 4th. Somewhere in this world is where I'd kind of be looking, maybe. Somewhere thereabouts. It may not get all the way down there. There's kind of a spot right here too. I'm just going to put an alert on this. This is kind of interesting. Thanks for the shout out on RKT. Keeping our eye on it here over the next couple of weeks. Yeah, so that's an interesting thing too, right? Yeah, Rocket Mortgage, cool. It's just one of the businesses though, so they do other things too. Heps, Farouk. Don't know anything about Heps. Never even heard of it. D-Market Electronic Services. What is this? 80 cents. Ooh. What got you in this trade, Farouk? Because this looks pretty bad. All-time lows. It's not bad if you're short. But this is pretty darn ugly, sir. So we got housing data tomorrow, Joe. Okay, that's interesting. Good to know. That's like housing starts. Young Ness wants to take a look at Disney. Disney came right into an area of interest for me. Nice bounce off of that area. Let me remove all this stuff. Let's go to the biggest time frame here. Yeah, so holding on right where you really need it to, right? This $90 level or so. Clear spot has been for years, 7 years, that 90 level. If that level fails, look out below. Not a ton of consolidation below. Not until you get to at least $67. Not saying it's going there, just saying could be tricky below that. So you really need to see this hold on here, or things could get nasty. Earnings on the 8th of August. Let's go to a daily. So this seems like maybe a logical spot for it to find its way to first. You really need to see it up and over these highs here. The June 1st high, that's at $112.67. Much like the SPY, though, you have that base. What's kind of concerning about this, however, is much unlike the SPY, where we put in a higher low. Disney has put in a lower low. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. You've got your low here, you made a higher low, and then you made a lower low right here. So that's concerning. To me, that would set my expectation that we're going to probably get rejected up here. If it's able to come up, make it up here. but we'll have to wait and see. Could, at the very least, I would expect a move back in. Let's just see kind of like where, maybe where this VWAP is. Yeah, I mean, wouldn't be surprised to see it come back into that 97.5 area, at least. If it can hold that and you put in a higher low, that would be good. So yeah, Young Nest, that's kind of where my head's at on it. Kind of a difficult spot to take a trade right now because it's kind of in the middle of this range. Would really like to see it either. Yeah, I would be interested in a short opportunity kind of if we get a move into this, or I'd be interested in a long opportunity if we get in a move into this. I'd kind of personally be more interested in the short opportunity up here though. It may not even make it there. Hard to know for sure. You got puts on Disney. Well, I wish you luck on those puts. Livybug. What's happening, Livybug? Okay, so Rocket Mortgage owns Quicken Loans, the largest U.S. lender. So then the question is, how many loans are being written right now? You've got interest rates rising. You're about to get another, potentially a full % raise in the interest rates this week. I have to assume that that does not inspire confidence in the home buyer to be buying a home right now. I don't know that for sure. I'm not a home buyer myself at this time. What's the home interest rate right now? Thirty-year fixed rate, 5.6%. Well, hold up now. .27%, accurate as of 7/25. 30-year fixed is 5.27, 20-year fixed 4.88. So if we get a 100 basis points raise, these increase, I think, by 1 full percentage point. That is a 18% increase. Makes it a lot harder to... Your money just doesn't go as far. ARKK back in the range. Oh, market's about to close, y'all. Hold up. Let's see. We'll look at ARK in a sec. So SPY came off the daily low. Trying to be strong into the end of the day here. QQQ, same deal, but a different vibe. SPY, you held a higher low. Right? And I have to assume this is facilitated by energy names. You held a higher low on the Qs. You made a new low. Relative to, looks like the low on the 25th. Yeah, interesting. What about XLE here? XLE coming into high of day. Make a new high of day on XLE. Yeah, Young, no problem, man. It's fun to be here. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Oh, yeah, Chewy. Let's look at ARKK. ARKK coming back in. Yep. It sure is. So again, there you go. Potentially failing a new high. Made a new little short-term high. But this is the big high we're eyeballing. Excuse me. Madhukar. Thank you, sir. Interesting. ARKK retail traders percentage 34%. Isn't that crazy? All right, Madhukar. Have a great rest of your day, man. Thank you for being here. As always, maybe we'll see you on Wednesday. What's up? Anything interesting going into the end of the day here that you guys are seeing or you want to discuss? WTI, strong day today. AR, very strong today. The CTRA is pretty interesting. Just looking at some random stuff here. End phase. This is going to be one to watch, I think. Setting up pretty nice. Earnings tomorrow. CVX looking pretty strong today. NXPI. Semiconductors. How we looking? Looks like the market likes it, maybe. Let's look and see what news says. $3.35 to $3.5 billion versus $3.33 billion estimate. Chewy, what's up with Newmont? This is mining, right? They got crushed today. Phew. What is up with Nem? Let's see. Newmont reported second quarter revenues $3.05 billion, which was down from $3.6 billion year over year. The company reported quarterly earnings of 46 cents per share, which may not compare to the estimate of 91 cents per share. Got halfway there. Said it produced 1.5 million attributable ounces of gold, 330,000 attributable gold equivalent ounces from co-products, an increase of more than 130,000 total gold equivalent ounces compared to the first quarter. Newmont said earnings were negatively impacted by higher labor, materials, consumables, costs of approximately $80 million, higher fuel and energy of approximately $50 million, and a $70 million expense related to, where'd that go? The Peñasquito profit-sharing agreement announced in early July. The revised outlook included 6 million ounces of attributable gold production and 1.3 million gold equivalent ounces. Yeah, I mean, the earnings per share, pretty abysmal. 46 instead of 91. I guess maybe that's why. They definitely got rocked, though, didn't they? Let's see what the monthly looks like. So on the monthly side, I mean, this area in here seems logical, 42-ish, maybe even here. Like, look at where we stopped. Almost perfect at 44 bucks, previous highs before it gained. Hasn't really come back to test. If you look at same thing here, what did you do? You had these highs, you gained them, You came back and you tested them, and then you went again. So could be, you know, if you're bullish on NEM, could be an excellent buying opportunity right now. You got your anchored VWAP from these October 2015 lows coming in right there as well. Kind of interesting. Maybe you take this as a long trade and you look for it to come back and test these previous lows. Around $54. Is that worth it? I don't know. How long will it take to get there? I don't know. There's a big spot to watch, though. Those previous highs, your anchored VWAP. You can see if there's any moving averages around there. So you've got your 200-month moving average right there, too. This thing plays relatively nice with the 200-month. Played nice here. Kind of got rejected off of it. Got rejected off of it here. Found support near it here. Found support momentarily right here. And then acted as resistance here and here. Kind of an interesting spot for NEM, honestly. Yeah, Robert. It might actually be a decent spot to be going long NEM. I don't know anything about him, so I'm not saying that it is, but it's kind of a level of interest for sure. I mean, similar type of look here, too. You have these highs. You can kind of see what I'm getting at. You have these highs. You make a big break out of them. Come back. Find support at them. Maybe, you know, you can see it. It definitely takes time. This thing has a history of doing this, though. Breaking, having a huge base, then a huge breakout, and then pulling back to that huge base. You have a base here. This is a multi-year base. 3 years. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on if you're interested in mining. CRSP, CRISPR, lots of upgrades this month. So they have earnings today. No, they've got earnings. Oh, you just said a nice close on CRISPR. Yeah, doesn't look bad. Coming back into kind of a breakout area. This area here. Kind of see, found support, resistance. You've got a 200 SMA. Coming in right around there too, $69. Not a bad close. Trying to hold a higher low here. If we go down to a smaller time frame, might be able to see it. Yeah, kind of trying to hold this low right here. And they held it. Not bad. And really holding this too. These previous highs. Interesting. Not a bad look. Nerd RX, my end of year SPY prediction. Jeez. I have no idea, dude. End of year SPY prediction. I'm going to go with $376. Dang. 300 to 225. Not only is that a massive range, but man, that's pretty bearish. Why so bearish? Zaki says 450. I think it's too soon to be putting end of year predictions on the side of my chart. I want to. I've got a buddy who he never uses diagonal trend lines, but he uses them, and I don't know if this is like a good use of them or not. I don't know if he's tested this or not, but it's kind of an interesting idea. He uses horizontal trend lines to determine time for his options. So like if he's bearish on SPY, he's going to use where the trend line is at that particular time. So that's what I did here. That's why I was kind of like saying that somewhere in that 370 level. Actually, let me do this. Let me turn on auto trends and just see where we get to drawing them. Interesting. So you could take this path as well. And if let's see, where's January 275. Let's go to the daily. Yeah, just connecting those highs. Yeah, 410. I don't know. Robert thinks we're going to rally by end of year. Young Ness says 280 to 320. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I honestly don't really have a prediction for the end of the year. I know that things don't look great right now. Just simple, we're making lower highs, we're making lower lows. So I don't see a good reason to really be super bullish just yet. But I don't know if I see a good reason to be super bearish just yet either. We could definitely find ourselves way lower though. It's just so hard to know, and I'm not in the mindset of trying to predict something like that. Let's take a look at Chewy. This is one of Theta Warrior's favorite names. This is your weekly. Let's see. Just gonna throw some anchored VWAPs up. Yeah, so this is, let's see, your anchored VWAP from November 2021 highs. Kind of an interesting spot. On the daily, you have your 200 SMA. Looks like perfect resistance on Friday. Did not manage to make a new high, but just about filled this gap. You've got a gap right here. Just about filled it. Kind of front ran it. Would really like to have seen maybe this high taken out. I mean, it's obviously looking pretty strong. I'd love to get an opportunity back here at around 29. Take a long there. Jason, please tell us what's going to happen. Well, some stocks are going to go up. Some stocks are going to go down. Some of the stocks that go up are going to go down later, and then some of the stocks that go down are going to go up later. Some stocks are going to stay flat. Yeah, so it really needs a new high, because ultimately you just haven't made a new high yet on a bigger time frame. You need a new high. You need to get above 52, 56. Because otherwise this is just a retrace. And it could be setting up for another leg lower. Did not make a new low, a new all-time low. Came darn close, but it did hold it. So that's good. Euro dollar futures saying something bigger than a recession is coming. Interesting. Fed raising 100. They say 82% chance of the Fed raising 100 bips. 82% chance. That is not a low percentage. Yeah, I'd be with you on that, young Ness. I would be in Puts gang on Chewy here. Last week, I mean, man, if you could have got it last Friday, early in the day, into that 200 SMA, that'd have been a sweet little play. This thing was trading as high as $48, $47.50. It's already closed today, $41.75. It's like a 15% down move. Anything popping off after hours? Do we want to look? Just looking for above average volume here. Something above $10. Ooh, okay. Hold up. I'm going to have to refine this a little bit. Let's say, if you're curious at all what I'm doing here, just looking for above average volume on stuff that has hourly volume above 50,000. So we're looking for something with 150,000 above average. Let's see. TVI on the hourly. Let's go after hours here. ATVI, nothing really special going on, but has some volume after hours. 5 minute here. Oh, you know what? Let me do this. It's looking at how far in. We're at 15 minutes in. Let's look at a 15-minute candle. One candle ago. BLNK. What's up with BLNK? I know Jake's been talking about BLNK. Had a little bit of a tough day today. Lots of names here. Way too many, in fact. King USD holding up. And we haven't talked about the dollar today. But it is an important thing to be keeping our eye on. Let's definitely be sure to check in on that on Wednesday. Walmart cut guidance. Getting hammered. Woo! Yoof. Yikes. Yikes. 123 after hours. I wish there was a button I could push and it would like draw something on my screen that was like a bunch of thumbs downs. That is nasty. And that's even pre-earnings. How is that affecting Costco? Is it? Yeah, Costco down. Not a ton. $8. $10 from the close. Not great. CNC short is the way for tomorrow morning. All right, Joe. Have a great rest of your day, sir. CNC. Interesting. I don't know anything about CNC. Centene announced today that as part of its previously announced review of strategic alternatives for its international portfolio, signed a definitive agreement to sell its Vivalto Sante Spanish and Central European businesses. Excuse me. Short report float. Short percent of float has fallen 27.54% since this last report. The company recently reported it has 8.62 million shares sold short, 1.5% of all regular shares that are available for trading. Huh. They got earnings tomorrow. One to keep an eye on, I guess. I'll throw it on the list. Keep an eye on that tomorrow for you, Joe. It's continuously making new highs. All-time highs, in fact. Interesting. Where are we at? Let's add a fib. No, that's not the fib I want to see. That is not the fib I want to see. Let's try drawing our own. Looks like that 1.618. I mean, it does sort of, but I don't know. Got these highs. We extended. We came back and tested not just once, but twice. Right here in January and right here in June. You held a higher low. I mean, I'm not saying it's not extended. It's made a pretty big move over the past, what, 7 or 8 trading days. %24 over the past. Oh, this is not individual days. These are weeks. So 7 weeks. Yeah, we'll see how this plays out tomorrow. Don't really know. I don't have an opinion. I don't really know what they do. Look. Managed care company. Healthcare is personal. As a managed care organization, we invest in communities and support the health of families and individuals. Well, that's nice. Here's your daily, Robert. The only thing that I really see is kind of in here. That hasn't really been tested, but I don't know if it needs to be. Guys kind of see what I'm talking about, right? Resistance. Resistance, support, support, resistance. Maybe it needs to come back, but I don't know. Does it? It doesn't have to. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to know. Or to have an opinion. I don't know enough about this symbol to have an opinion. Healthcare obviously has been crushing. What is the healthcare NXPI? Or is that's biotech, isn't it? Because these guys wouldn't be in the same. They're not biotech. They are care. I don't know. I don't know what the ETF. Okay, I guess we could look. Yeah, and that's the thing, is if you don't know anything about it, why trade it? Don't trade it. Apex Healthcare ETF, don't know what's in this. I don't think this is what I'd be curious about. Global Health and Wellness ETF, that's not it. Healthcare Providers, IHF, IXJ, Global Healthcare, US Healthcare, IYH. Here we go. It doesn't look great. Filled a new high here, made a new low here. Could definitely come back in to test some of this though. Very quickly take a look at cryptos. ETH not looking super great. Bitcoin looking a little bit nicer to me. Doing that thing that we're looking for SPY and the Qs to do. Remember, crypto led us. Crypto took us up and out on the indices. Not saying that necessarily crypto's the reason, but crypto led. And now crypto's pulling back pretty nice here in Bitcoin. I do like the look of this. Ethereum has some catching up to do. Ethereum could pull back some more, in my personal opinion. You do have this big base here. Solana, another high flyer. Slightly different look on Solana, but same kind of idea. Coming back into that base. So we'll have to see if they start gaining again. Might give us a little bit of a trajectory for what to expect on the indices. Maybe. MCK. This will be the last one, and then I gotta get out of here. MCK. New highs today. New all-time high today on MCK. It's a new all-time high. Yes, sir. Wow. Look at this. Holy moly. Up and over that 1.618 extension. 380 might be in the cards at some point. Would also not be shocked for a move back in to those previous highs at some point. What's going to get it there? I have no idea. This thing is jamming though. The question is this a liquidity pulling event? You know, you had these previous highs and we just jumped into them today. You did make a new relative low back in June. So this one's worth watching. This one's worth keeping an eye on. You definitely want to see them regain those highs. In here, you definitely want to see them come back in and regain. You have earnings on the 2nd or the 3rd. But to me, this low is a little concerning. A little. Because you took out these lows as well. And it wasn't just a little blip like it. Well, it could have been the same thing. Could have been a little liquidity event. You know, they came in and you had a bunch of stops under these lows. They came in and took them out. But you've got a consolidation area here that could get back tested at some point. You've got this one here that got back tested. You've got this one that kind of got back tested. This one didn't really, but you know, 210's a ways away. I don't know. 284 would be sweet. That would kind of jive with these lower lows. And you kind of got that kind of thing going on. We'll have to keep an eye on this one over the next period of time here. It might take a little while to get back down there. I guess it'll depend on what earnings are looking like. But anyway, y'all, that is it for me today. I'm going to get on out of here. I do very much appreciate you all joining me. This has been really fun. Hopefully this has been enjoyable for you guys too. As always, if you need anything from me, you can hit me up on Twitter at Krutzky Trades. If you have any questions about TrendSpider, feel free to hit me up. If you want, if I'm not around or if I'm not getting to your question fast enough, down here, bottom right-hand corner where it says contact us, click on that link. This will send you to our employee chat room. These are real people that are answering questions right now, live in the flesh. They're happy to help you. So if you have any questions about the platform, hit these guys up. Great guys, can answer your questions. If you need some in-depth help on the platform, feel free to sign up for a training session. You can do that by clicking on your name, top right corner. Scroll down to where it says schedule training. You won't see it on my side, but you will see it on yours. Let me also send you guys a couple things here in chat real quick before I go. Give me 1 second. Live stream. Okay, so we have a lot going on here. I need to actually, before we get going, I got a lot of things I got to tell you guys about. First thing, here's a Google Calendar. If you guys want a sign up link, you guys want to know when I'm live? Add my calendar to your calendar. Then you'll know when I'm live. Second thing, if you are not a TrendSpider user and you want to be, but you don't want to pay full price, here's a 25% discount for you. So feel free to use that. This week, we are back with the shows. So we are doing a chart request show, or a live charting show on Thursday with Mr. Jake Wujastic. You guys know him. He's the face of TrendSpider. He'll be on the show on Thursday. We'll be talking shop. That is Thursday night at 8 p.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. Going to be taking your live chart requests. Tomorrow, we've got a Spaces, Twitter Spaces, again, 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's going to be a trade ideas space. So each trader that is going to be on the show, there's going to be 4 of them. They're going to bring 2 ideas apiece. We're going to have Karma Options, Steve Straza from All-Star Options, or All-Star Charts, rather. Ryan Riggs, he is the wolf of my street. And we've got Brown Texas Ninja. So those are our 4 traders for tomorrow's Twitter Spaces show. If you're interested in tuning in, that is 8 p.m. Eastern time on Twitter. And yeah, that's it. That's what I got for you guys. What's up, Dylan? How's it going, bro? Love you too. I believe that's it. Let me just make sure. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. So with that, again, I'm going to say adios. I do appreciate you all being here, and we'll see you on Wednesday again at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time. A lot to talk about on Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Trade them well. Be careful out there. We've got lots of data coming this week, so be mindful of all of that. And like I said, yeah, hit me up if you have any questions about anything. I am happy to answer any questions you have at any time. So holler at me. All right. Have a great rest of your day. We will see you later. Bye.